Ladies, how fast do you recover from rejection? You have put in time, money, and effort into your business. Oftentimes, for women entrepreneurs, our business is our baby. It's our dream. It's our life work. We know that our products and services and ideas can make a real difference for whoever we're networking with, right? So the question is, how do you handle it when the person you're talking to who really needs your product and service, who you know could really benefit from your product and service, rejects your offer? Ooh. That's a hard-hitting question, right? And very worthy of investigation so we can accelerate our results while doing business her way. Hi everybody, my name is Josephine Hannon, but you can call me Jose. I'm the founder and CEO of Promote Her Business, where it is our mission to promote your business and each other, say it with me now, online, offline, all the time. And my question for you today is, how fast do you recover from rejection? Are you able to continue on, or is it heartbreaking and it stops you and demobilizes you and is very debilitating, right? And today we're going to talk about how to be able to speed up our recovery so we can move on to our next success faster. I love this quote by Winston Churchill, and the quote is, "Success equals your ability to go from failure to failure without a loss of enthusiasm." So how do you go from one rejection to the next without a loss of enthusiasm? Because it's inevitable that as women entrepreneurs, we are going to be bombarded with rejection. It's part of the game of numbers, right? So how do we handle it in such a way that we can keep moving on in face of it so we don't stifle the people we most want to help because our ego is in the way of us continuing on, right? Is our message or our ego more important? That's the first question to ask. Is our message or our ego more important? Our ego could be very fragile, right? But it isn't about us. It's about continuing on, right? So that our market can hear what they need to hear so we can solve their urgent problem. Now, here are some tips for being able to recover faster. One is to be positive. Okay, so the first thing is to start with what's positive. After you experience rejection, it could feel like the world has come to an end, right? Your perfect person said no. So you want to start by being kind with yourself and reminding yourself that the whole thing didn't go wrong. There's always something you did right. Start with what you did right, okay? Because that's going to help you put the whole situation in perspective. It's not as simple as it was all terrible or it was all great. No matter how great it was, we could do better. And no matter how bad it was, there's always opportunities for us to acknowledge ourselves. So start with, what did you do right? Maybe you had this great rapport with them and you told this really funny story and they laughed and you related. And then it wasn't until the end that you asked them for something. Do you want to come to my free event? Do you want to opt in? Do you want to buy my product or service, right? Then maybe the conversation got weird or awkward, or you got defensive and it didn't go the way that you hoped, okay? But it doesn't mean the whole thing was that way. Even in worst case scenario, there always is something to acknowledge yourself for. You tried to have a conversation. That's a risk most people are not willing to take. They're not willing to put their ego at stake, right? It's hard to do that. So acknowledge yourself. So first, start with the positive. Second, See what you can learn from rejection, right? That's how you're going to get better, is by doing more of what works and stopping what doesn't. Say it with me. I do more of what works and I stop what doesn't. One more time. I do more of what works and I stop what doesn't. Now, the only way to do more of what works is to notice it intentionally. So let's say I noticed, oh, I told this funny story, or I said something that was really catchy and caught their attention, or I gave them a statistic that they found really interesting and it made them want to ask me more. Okay, well, now I'm going to make sure I consistently do that. So the first time I got rejected, I saw one thing that I did that was positive that I could bring into other conversations. Let's say I go on to the next conversation, I still get rejected. Now I look at, besides the one thing I was doing right before, what else am I doing right? Now there's two things I'm doing right. I'm going to bring those two things into my next conversation. So it will become inevitable that if I keep incorporating best practices, that I will get to the point where my whole spiel is a best practice, right? It does take time, it does take effort, it does take noticing what's working and doing it more. But it also takes acknowledging what you're not doing right or aren't doing as effectively as you would like. And this is where, once again, is it about your ego or is it about really supporting as many people as possible? Because if it's really about supporting as many people that need you as possible, then maybe it's time to ask for support. As women entrepreneurs, one of our biggest strengths is we're so darn independent. Woohoo! I love that about us. And one of our biggest weaknesses is that we're so darn independent, right? We want to do it ourselves and, learn the hard way. And if you want to get better faster, then ask for support. Come to our Promote Her Business community. Learn from experts. I love this quote from one of my favorite mentors, Keith Cunningham, which is, practice doesn't make perfect, it makes permanent. Practice doesn't make perfect, it makes permanent. So if you have habits that are not working now, the longer that you do them, the harder it is to unlearn them. So stop it. Learn the best practices so that you can consistently do those. And it's easier then you don't have to unlearn as many bad practices, right? Because you just learned it right to begin with. Or, maybe you've been doing this a little while and you still have some things to unlearn, but at least stop what you're doing now, ask for help so you can start to know what are the right practices for your business, your personality, so that you have that edge and it doesn't take you as much time to get where you need to go at the expense of your audience, who's losing out if you're not positioning yourself in a way that they can receive it, okay? And then the last thing I'll say about rejection is making sure that you are surrounding yourself with positive people who can cheer you on and share best practices with you and have vulnerable conversations with you. If you're surrounded with friends and family and they're not entrepreneurs, they don't get it oftentimes, right? It's a whole different world to listen to somebody who's going through it versus understanding what they're going through, right? And so at Promote Her Business, we have a whole community of some of the most supportive, purpose-driven women entrepreneurs who are having vulnerable conversations with each other, who are sharing, oh, this works for me when I make an ask, and this doesn't work, and how's it going for you? And you can compare notes with people in your industry and also with people who are not in your industry. And you can learn the best practices in marketing and sales year-round so that you don't have to unlearn as much, right? Learn it right as much as you can the first time. So then those are just part of who you are and what you're doing and what you're role modeling to your industry. Does that make sense to everybody? So to recap, 1, start with the positive after you got rejected. right? What did you do right? Because if you're just going to focus on the negative, it will shut you down, I can promise you. 2, learn from what you're doing after you have any conversation, especially the ones that don't go the way you want. Debrief on it. See what you learned. What are you doing right? What are you going to do more of? And then, where do you need support? Ask for support. Compare notes with other women entrepreneurs. Ask for coaching, marketing and sales coaching, so that you learn from experts and don't have to learn the hard way, right? And then surround yourself with women who are cheering you on, who get where you're coming from. And my belief is you don't need to eliminate the phone numbers from all the naysayers in your life. Some people think that that's the way to go. I don't believe it's doing business her way. To me, her way is not just crushing all the people that don't support us. To me, doing business her way is allowing for the fact that not everyone's going to be on the same page. Not everyone's going to always love everything we do. And we don't have to cut out every single person that didn't buy our product or wasn't supportive of us at that moment. Instead, what I recommend to do is to surround yourself with more women entrepreneurs who get what you're doing, and then naturally you're just going to have less time to be around the naysayers because you're spending more time with a community who's a yes to what you're up to. But it's not so much eliminating everybody who ever said something negative to you, okay? That's not doing business her way. And the other thing to realize is that your network is your net worth. So just because they don't buy today doesn't mean they're a no forever. They're just a no for now. And I have found some of the people that I have had the best business relationships were people that said no to me initially, or even said no to me multiple times. And then the one time they said yes, it was like the best yes I ever got. So keep them around. Don't burn your bridge just because they said no for now. And sometimes people make better referral partners than they do clients. So even if they say no as a potential client, that doesn't mean that they're not going to refer you potentially to their network. Would you rather them refer you to 5 people or just get them, one person, as a client, right? So that's another way to look at your network and not just burning your bridges because someone said no. Okay? So I'm really curious to hear how you are handling rejection over the next week, over the next month. And I invite you to participate more in our Promote Her Business upcoming events. Our next event is a virtual speed networking event that's coming up. So I'm going to go ahead and put the link to that in the description and in the comments, so you can surround yourself with more women who are a yes to your dreams and all cheering each other on, and they get where you're coming from with being rejected and all want to, move through rejection and recover from rejection faster. So with that said, keep promoting your business and each other. Say it with me now. Online, offline, all the time. Bye, everybody.